Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Valued, and today I wanted to make a quick video talking about orb walking, movement, and positioning. So orb walking might be a new concept to anyone who's new to top-down games in general, but it's something that's going to come in handy if you master it. So I want to break down how most players that probably get into this game are moving. And I need to find a mob. Perfect, found this mob. So most players that are playing the game, right, the way you move, you're holding down your movement key, right? You're holding down left click while you're moving around the screen. A lot of players do this, right? And then you find a mob, right? You're going to click the mob, you're going to click back, click the mob, click back. Same thing, right? You're going to keep going back and back and back, and that's fine, right? That does work. But I do want to highlight that can be rather inconsistent, especially if you're fighting mobs like baby little spiders or anything with a small hitbox, right? It's very hard to click them, and because they're little spiders, they also jump around the screen a lot, so it's kind of hard to attack them. So I want to talk about some different ways that you can consider attacking and moving in Diablo 4. So the first thing you need to understand here is go in your control tab, check what your hold position is bound to. Mine is personally left shift. I've had it like that since Diablo 3. You can set it to whatever you want, but understanding this is pretty important because if you're holding your left click to move, right, all you have to do to attack, if you're holding your left click down, is hit left shift, right? Left shift, right? Now, in my opinion, that's not the best way to move in general, especially when you're fighting. I only use hold down myself, for example, when I'm moving around like cities or towns, because it's a lot easier. Me, whenever I'm in a dungeon or a combat situation, I'm always spam clicking. You'll probably see a lot of players that have played a lot of Diablo titles doing this. And the reason for it is because the orb walking is better when you do this. So I'm going to talk about the way you can do it if you're holding it down, right? So if you're holding down your left click, right, all you have to do to orb walk is something like this, right? When, let's say I always want to be attacking up here, right? You basically hold this down, right? Then every time you look up, you hit shift, right? Move back, move back, move back, move back. But you see my character's doing this circular motion because you're holding it down, right? So your character's always trying to move wherever your cursor's going. That's why that can be inconsistent. But if you're somebody who's spam clicking like you're going to see me do and a lot of players you're going to watch do, you can actually do a much more efficient orb walk. I'm going to break this down in slow motion. So the way this works, I left click one time, I shift left click to attack, I left click behind me, right? And when you speed that up, it's going to look something like this. So again, you see there how my character didn't try to circle back and like keep moving this one way? Like you do if you're holding. That's going to allow me to consistently create space between me and the mobs. Now, I will say if you're playing a class like Rogue with the builds that I play, for example, this can be kind of hard to do, which is why aspects like Rapid Aspect are really nice to have because your attack speed is higher, making this input easier to do. If you have a lower attack speed, it's kind of hard because you'll have moments where your character's not ready to basic attack again. And I do want to say this is going to be hard to get used to if you're not used to doing any sort of orb walking and maybe this is your first top-down game in general. But it's something that's definitely worth learning because it's very consistent. It also helps you create distance between mobs and keep yourself safer. So I did just want to talk about orb walking and positioning in this video, but since I'm not going to make another movement video likely for a while, I do also want to make a mention here. One control option that every player needs to have bound no matter what is force move. Force move is very nice for situations where, like, let's say I want to go through a doorway, right? For example's sake, let's say this is a little doorway, right? Like this little area here, right? Let's say there's a whole pack of mobs here blocking my way through this doorway, right? If I try to left click to move through them, I'm going to end up attacking them because they're blocking my path here with my cursor. But since I have force move bound, all I have to do is press my force move keybind and I'll move through them without attacking. Because I believe it's actually not bound by default. I could be wrong on that, but if it is bound by default, the keybind is weird because I had to change it myself when I first got on. I also want to mention here, a lot of players do like to do their up and down scroll wheel as the way to do this. Me personally, I like zooming in and out with that. It's a little traditional and it actually comes from my League of Legends days, unfortunately, but we won't talk about those days. But you can make this keybind whatever you want. For me, I actually use press down on my scroll wheel because I don't find myself using force move all that often. And it's not too difficult to use my force move this way. But again, everyone's entitled to their own keybinds. Whatever's comfortable for you, feel free to use it. But have a force move keybind. You see here, like if I press my force move, right, I'm pressing right on them and I'm still moving. I'm not attacking, right? So it's a very nice keybind to have for situations where you just want to get through a doorway and make some space, or you don't want to attack enemies for whatever reason. So the big reason why I wanted to talk about orb walking in this video is because I get a lot of questions about how to position in dungeons because I think a lot of people end up dying because of their lack of movement potentially. And it's something that's really going to help. So like, let's say I'm fighting this pack of mobs, right? Let's say I like get them all kited up here, group them up. Cool, right? So if I'm a general player and I don't know how to orb walk, right? My general way of attacking this pack of mobs is going to be like this, right? Left click back, left click back, left click back, spender, right? That's going to be your general way to move, right? But for me, someone that uses orb walking, I'm always going to be creating space between me and the enemies. And you don't always have to use it to kite. Like you'll notice here, I'm not in a lot of danger, so I absolutely could just stand still and attack, right? But then I notice I'm in danger, I evade, I shadow step, create space, right? It's all about identifying those windows where you can make space between you and the pack of mobs. Because again, your defensives are going to do a lot for you, your armor, your stats, they're all going to do a lot for you. But it's very important to also understand the default options you have to just make space between you and enemies where they can attack you. Now again, that's not going to work for things like the one-shot crossbows, but any mobs that are trying to melee attack you, it's really important to know how to make space, and Orb Walking makes that process just that much more efficient and just that much easier. And by the way, if you were wondering the example I'm talking about with Force Move, I actually happen to walk right into the right dungeon here. You notice these little mobs here, right? Let's say I'm just fighting one of them, and I just want to attack them with a basic skill, right? It's really hard to click them when they're all jumping around like this, right? That's where this Orb Walking comes in handy. Because all I'm doing, right, I'm just moving back and forth, and I'm not dependent on hitting any mobs, right? I'm always moving no matter what. So there's no downtime. And it might sound silly, but that extra little bit of uptime you get is actually going to mean a big deal, especially if you're playing one of my builds that feature combo points, for example. Any extra basic attack you're able to get in because you're being a little bit more efficient increases your throughput by that much. So I hope this video was helpful, and I hope it wasn't insulting to anyone watching. This might seem very simple, but I think a lot of players that are new to Diablo don't know mechanics like this. So I'm hopeful this video was helpful. If it was, let me know down below. If it wasn't, let me know what I could do to make it better and more easy to understand in the future. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. My name has been Valued, and I'll see you in the next one.